Alright guys, TacticalRab back again. So I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. A historic day in Call of Duty history today with arguably one of the biggest chokes we've ever seen in competitive COD history going down this evening. And I would even say the craziest reverse sweep we have ever seen online. There's been some crazy ones over the years, but man, this series was absolutely absurd. OpTic start off slow, they somehow bring back the series. What happened with the Minnesota Rokkr today? So many storylines. Very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, the game was kind of broken today. Lots of talk about Call of Duty as a game. Basically, over the last few days, people have been saying the servers are a bit tragic. Today, everything kind of crashed, to be honest. There was even discussions, I'm not sure if this is actually true or not, but there was talk that skill-based matchmaking kind of ceased to exist during this whole thing. So I'm sure that Activision are going to very quickly say, oh, yeah, let me fix that ASAP. And maybe there's other things that won't fix so fast. This, they are certainly trying to. We're going to discuss two series today, though, in the CDL, because I'm sure it's going to take quite some time because a lot's happened in these series. We'll talk Miami versus Vegas tomorrow. Firstly, though, Subliners versus Boston Breach. New York, of course, came off a good week last week, but they didn't play anyone particularly good. Boston, I felt the Asim change should improve them on paper. We did not see much evidence of that today, if anything at all. To be fair, though, the first couple of minutes of game one looked spectacular. Boston had a big lead. Sure, it's Skid Row, got the P2 rotation. It's nice. Then Subliners break in. Obviously, the big story of the series, though, really was, again, Priestahh versus his former team. It's been the thing where they played before that, well, Priestahh dropped off the Subliners at the end of last year, controversially, so he obviously needs to prove that they made the wrong decision. If there's any time to do it, it's in the series against that team, especially when they've got their new player on the other team in Sib. Didn't work out so well here for Priestahh, to be fair, and there are so many questions and concerns with this Boston team right now. The funny thing I'll say for New York is that they basically had Skyz doing nothing this series. This guy was kicked back with his feet up and was just chilling because everyone else played very well. Skyz did basically nothing, and they still kind of slammed Boston. There were some straight up tragic rounds here in this Search and Destroy. To be fair, Asim made a nice little two-piece, ended up being a three-piece to at least give them a chance, but Priestahh was nearly on a donut here. This was I couldn't honestly believe this when I was watching it. It was 4-2 at this point to the Subliners. There was a good chance that Boston bring it back at this point. Sib has just killed Asim on the left-hand side. Sib's a bit weak, but not that weak, and he's expecting Asim, I imagine, Priestahh to actually hit the jump up here and kill Sib. But Priestahh double hops this, doesn't get the kill somehow. Then I'm pretty sure Kismet kills Priestahh, and it's all down to Slasher in a 1 versus 2, which Slasher then goes on to win, to actually win the rounds, and Priestahh was looking over laughing because he knew that was just pretty shambolic. This was very unfortunate for Snoopy. You can argue that Snoopy should have played this more aggressively, a bit more confident, go and challenge maybe. And you could also argue that why does he give up the angle? There's maybe no reason for Snoopy to pre-aim this and then stop pre-aiming it, but I think this is just brutal COD timing, to be honest, that he gets caught off guard there. Obviously, Skyz shoots him in the back and Snoopy goes down. That was the end of the game too. HyDra was even laughing as well. I think this was during the Search and Destroy of what the hell was going on the other side of the station. And yeah, this was the immediate reaction after the Game 2 result. Priestahh eventually did get a kill, by the way. I'm not going to lie, the way that Priestahh played the final rounds genuinely looked like he was trying to get a kill more than he was to win the rounds. That was just my observation. That might not be true, but I don't know. Looking at Priestahh's arrow that round made me think that really what he was going for is to not be on a donut rather than actually be in the best position to help his team win. So maybe there's questions on that. He did get a kill, to be fair, but they swiftly after lost the rounds, and Priestahh had, I'm pretty sure, a grand total of 9 kills over the final 2 maps of the series. It was not pretty. The control wasn't pretty either. A rapid-fire high-rise control loss here for Boston Breach. And look, we saw Subliners do this the other day to Surge, but Surge played it atrociously. Boston weren't far behind, to be fair. And we know that Subliners are a solid team, for sure. They don't seem still to be quite at the level of some of the top dogs in the league. I will say, though, today, HyDra really impressed. And I think that's kind of what we've seen so far this season, is that we're kind of getting what we expected out of Skyz. I would say we're getting probably what we expected out of Kismet. It's just like HyDra hasn't been the absolute ridiculous MVP level best player in the game by far that he was last year. And you're not expecting that to continue necessarily. He He also finished the series, by the way, took his headset off because the man they were so confident they were going to win. He just chucked his headset off and they still got the dub regardless. So, straight disrespect really coming out of Paco here, and he played phenomenal this series. If we get this HyDra more often, then I think that they are going to be arguably back to where they were last year, at least in contention for more finals, because, HyDra is just such an important player. Just because HyDra hasn't been as dominant as he was last year so far, you wouldn't expect it, but if he can get back to being like a 1.2 every single series, then it's obviously going to help them a fair bit. But if there's one series where you can't get absolutely gigaslammed, and CDL Hate to Central was having a field day with this one, on Priestahh having a really hard time in this series, right? 0.59 KD in the ends. The final two maps, I mean, yeah, as I say, this guy was going off on the main stage here. 9 kills, 0.36 KD, not particularly good. And as Slasher says, everything that could go wrong today did unacceptable out of us. To me, this type of loss raises questions on Boston whether, the Asim for cap move, maybe there were some positives in it, but clearly I would say not enough to turn this team around. By the time you've had a good couple of weeks of practice together, you've played a couple of matches, this is where you start to see where the potential lies. And seemingly, there isn't all that much of it. Snoopy, I mean, again, he made some mistakes in the series individually, but at least he was kind of shooting back. Priestahh had 26 kills, it was shambolic. It's not like the other guys did well, but I don't know. Priestahh just had a really hard time, and if there's one series you can't have a hard time when Simp is on the other side with a 1.5, it's probably this exact series. And to me, this says, almost undisputedly, this Slasher Priestahh AR duo is not going to work. I think there's just no way. Like, just watching it, it doesn't seem to work. There's questions as to what Priestahh actually is doing right now, because he's on that flex roll. He's meant to be putting up some numbers, right? You're expecting Slasher to put up numbers on LAN, and I think he will, and he did at Major 1. But online, you need somebody else to deliver, and Priestahh's not been that guy lately. Neither of Asim or Snoopy, to be fair. And they are playing the world champions. But, man, yeah, that was ugly, and I think that if I'm the Boston coaching staff and I'm watching that series, I'm thinking, like, this team is not going to be winning anything based on the evidence of today. And I don't know, if they see similar things in practice, something has got to be done. The question is, who do you put in instead? That's a debate for the coming days, but we have plenty to discuss on this series as well. Rio Hardpoint map 1, I was really looking forward to this because OpTic were definitely going to chow them on Rio because OpTic loved that map, and Rokkr just won it against Toronto the other day. So clearly it was going to be in the series. It ended up being game 1, and Rokkr just slammed them this game 1. This was one of those game 1s, and I actually mentioned it. We did a pre-show on the Breaking Point channel just before things went live, and I mentioned that, I think OpTic would come into this series very confident they're going to win. Just like Toronto did, Toronto the other day, they came into this series, they thought for sure they were going to win, and they got, surprised, right? Rokkr did well. They took them to a game 5, but when push came to shove, Ultra just decided, right, we're going to win now, and just dominated the game 5. But I think that OpTic came in with a similar mindset that, they thought they were going to beat this team, and OpTic did the classic thing that OpTic do. And I don't understand why this is such a consistent trend, but you see it all the time that OpTic just go one by one by one. I don't know what exactly happens in their comms, but it's been such a trend now that when things go bad and they start off slower than they expect to, they don't have like a regain button that they can easily hit. I really think they need to work on this, because the amount of maps I've seen over the last few years, when they start off badly against a team they think they probably should be beating, and then for the rest of the map, they just go one by one and don't trade anything, and it's just a guaranteed loss when they do that. So yeah, that's what happens, but we've got to give credit to Rokkr on the other side, because I expected Pred and Shotzzy to be fine on this map, and you'd expect them to. But Linz and Vivid completely took over this game 1. Vivid especially, but man, Linz is such a good player. This guy, I'm not saying he's too good for this team, but he's definitely their star player right now. It's another rookie, he's a rookie. HyDra's obviously been around a few years now, but you know what I mean? It's another French player, SMG talent, that's just unbelievable. And we've seen how HyDra's developed over the last few years. Super exciting, and his POV lens is so much fun to watch. This was after the game 1. Here's some of the body language, just looking at it. OpTic look kind of out of sorts. Obviously, Rokkr are really smiling. I don't really think many other teams, apart from maybe FaZe, are going to chow them now on that rear hardpoint, which clearly is suiting that team very well at the present time. And then they went to a terminal search and destroy. I think this map is kind of cheese, to be honest. It can go either way. I don't think OpTic can have any complaints, though, because they voted to keep it in and get rid of Skid Row because they didn't like that map, so it is what it is. And OpTic started off well here. This round, though, was criminal, really. Like, this was Shotzzy for sure thought, and it's funny in a way that the very final round of the series was a very similar 1v1 Shotzzy versus Lins that went the other way that we'll get into. But all Shotzzy has to do here, and Shotzzy knew this, all he has to do is lay down because he knows that Lins has to chal him. All he has to do is lay down for another, literally a second will do, and then he can go up and check them off if he needs to. But he knows Lins has to chal, and I think Shotzzy thinks that, like, he's just going to win the fight. But Lins comes around the corner, guns him off the heady, and to be fair, if I'm Shotzzy, I'm not expecting to get gunned like that, but you know, just lay down, you know. All he had to do was crouch or something, and they would have won the round for sure. They didn't. That went 1-1, and in the end, that was quite decisive, because Rokkr closed out the game 6-4. So it looked like, damn, what are OpTic doing today? Did not play their best COD at all. Mistakes in the search and destroy. The hardpoint was pretty shambolic. Would they be able to turn it around? But this is where OpTic displayed some truly immense ice, and I think that there's credit to this on both sides of the equation. There is Rokkr with an absolute breakdown, and there's the ice from OpTic for sure. But this, I think, was a bit of both. I gotta say, this map, but I think it was more of a breakdown from Rokkr, to be personally honest. I've not seen really anything like this in a very long time, since maybe a couple of rounds in Cold War, where people, I think it was like, didn't Slasher and Temp clutch up a 2v13 once on Checkmate Control, and then of course, kind of famously, there was the Thieves versus FaZe clan reverse sweep of the Black Ops 4 World Championship, where they were down 2-9 lives in the Control. They won that round of Control, they brought the reverse sweep within the Control, and they went on to reverse sweep the series. That's the greatest reverse sweep ever. This isn't far away, and it's probably the best ever online that I can personally remember. So OpTic somehow, everyone was winning offenses here, and it was offense, offense, offense. OpTic actually did really well to even win their offenses. A couple of rounds they were backs against the wall, and then made a break and got the offensive win. Karachi Control, by the way, you know, say what you want about Cellium in this game, but man, Karachi Control is a great map mode combination. Like, people that say Control isn't the best third game mode, I think I would dispute that based on the Karachi basically being in the game right now, because this map is always fireworks, I would say, and it was the same again here. It always takes, this great thing about the way this map is designed is that, and let's be honest, it's not designed to be this way intentionally, it's just how it happens to go, but it's good nonetheless, that if you get one break, if you get 4 dead or something like that, it's winnable for an offense, no matter how few lives you have remaining. So at this point, I thought that it was done. There's no ticks on B, they're down 8-17 in lives, and then this is the screenshot that I've got to share for you guys. I went back to find this one because it's so ridiculous, really. We've got number 5 in Lins in a gunfight here with Pred. 3 lives remaining, by the way. I mean, look at this. 3-14. Have you ever seen anything like it? 17 seconds, and it's not 3-14 with the hill stacked for OpTic. It's 3-14 with no OpTic players anywhere near the point. So, Awakening is channeling out number 4. Vivid also just leaves the hill and dies. Lins is in a gunfight here, which he loses. And all of a sudden, it's 3 versus 12. And it's kind of like 3 versus 11. And then the guys are getting into the hard point. So, you know, just have a look at the way this breaks down. Because it was at this moment I thought for sure it was done. It was 3-14. I actually looked away because I thought, okay, GG, 3-0. Let me have a look at this other screen. And then I looked back about here and I thought, okay, hang on a second. Vivid just ran out of the point and died. aBeZy can't get a kill. Now OpTic are going to triple stack this, and Awakening has a kill streak. Awakening was frying this map as well, he was double positive. He calls in his streak, but he misses it, and he's quite delayed with it. aBeZy gets blown up, and now the ball's in Rokkr's court to try and break in, and the lives don't matter anymore. Shotzzy gets 1, and then eventually they trade out the final one. Shotzzy as well, I gotta say, was the catalyst then bringing this series back, because he made so many big players. I mean, what a ridiculous end to that game. I don't think I've seen a Control like that in recent memory, and OpTic, of course, at that point, they sat forward and they were like, okay, we've got to bring this back, because when you win a map like that, you've really got to reverse sweep an avenue at that point, and that is what they go on to do. But they made it hard for themselves. Like, genuinely, in the game 4, I thought the Rokkr had it. They played well. The first rotation was fine. I mean, this is almost unlosable, but the spawn that Shotzzy gets in the end to hit the flank here, to get the positioning, sub-base is a bit dodgy with the spawns, we know it, but man, again, a ridiculous into this map. Like, I don't really have any comments on this. It was just complete chaos, and Rokkr were 5 points away. They get broken in. OpTic clutch up, they get all the kills, and even this final moment, I mean, have a look at this if you guys didn't see the series today. Pred needs to check his controller as well today to see if he had the gyro aim on. You remember when that was apparently messing with Hook the other year? Pred was shooting windmills this map, and even look at this, Pred goes in for the kill, he loses track of Vivid, gets killed, but then Kenny gets the final kill, and it's 250-245. Just an absurd map of hardpoint, and for that map of hardpoint to follow up the previous map is just honestly kind of unheard of. I mean, look at the comeback here from OpTic. Really icy from OpTic, but you've got to say, that final, when push comes to shove for Rokkr, I know that accuracy, he's the Iceman or whatever, and Linz is always seemingly putting the team on his back, but there are questions about the ice that Wake and Vivid have, I'm not going to lie, and Vivid was making some highly questionable plays the final few maps of this series, and then the search and destroy. At this point, it felt like it was going to be almost a foregone conclusion. Rokkr had lost the map 5 the other day to the Ultra, of course, and a nice play here from Shotzzy to defuse the bomb, gets off it, kills Wake, gets the defuse in the ends. There's a few interesting rounds here, to be fair, though, because, Rokkr brought this back to 4-3, and look at this from Awakening. I simply don't understand how he doesn't get this kill. Wake hits a great flank. 2 versus 3, by the way. Shotzzy and Dashy, 2 versus 3. This looks for all the world that it's going to be tied up 4-4, especially when Shotzzy's getting shot in the back right now by, I mean, you can't quite see it, but Awakening's arrow is right there. I don't know how Awakening doesn't close out this kill. He misses the bullets. He tries to jump him. Dashy gets the kill. Shotzzy gets the next one. Accuracy's in a 1 versus 2. That was a complete breakdown. And then the final rounds, it was a 3 versus 2 in favour of OpTic here, and Shotzzy eventually gets the kill on Linz, as I just mentioned. Linz 1 versus 2 kills Dashy. 12 seconds on the clock. He lays down. Shotzzy gets the kill, though. Clutches the 1v1 with, I think, 0.4 seconds or something on the clock when he hit the defuse on that bomb. And that was the series. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. It was an absolute world-class series. One of the best I've watched all year, hands down. And you've got to give credit both ways. OpTic deserve a massive amount of credit for icing up in the way that they did. But, man, Rokkr played their part as well by somehow throwing away some impossible to lose situations. You could play those situations 100 times and you lose one of them, and that's basically what has happened here. As Dashy says, zero clue how we won that series. And I think there's questions for OpTic how did they come out that flat? They need to rectify that tomorrow against Gorillas, but I think there's probably more positives to take from this series than negatives for OpTic, because they full well know that they were in a tough spot and they didn't play their best COD today, but yet they still somehow found a way to come out and win the series. So massively intrigued to your thoughts, of course, on all this stuff in the comment section below. This was the final scoreboard as well, and you'll not see something like this for a long time to come, with Linz at 1.25 for the loss. Dashy the only man positive. OpTic and Pred especially were basically just getting tucked to bed this series. Dashy with 19,000 damage as well, by the way, but they still win it in a game 5. So hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.